a very good morning, and on this very gloomy and grey morning, we are coming to you live from Vijay Chowk. With me is our two experts here. Will you introduce yourself?
Tushar Gupta, Senior
Yes.
Editor, Swarajya Magazine.
And you have?
Anshula Vijay, spokesperson, Congress Party.
Yes. So, why are we here? Because the budget session of Parliament begins today. What is the significance of this budget session? This is the last full budget session before the 2024 general elections. Today, the joint session of Parliament will be addressed by the first woman tribal president. This will be the first address of Draupadi Murmu to the joint session of Parliament. Today will also be the day, the economic survey, where the government will be projecting what it is looking at as far as the future is concerned, what are in its immediate challenges, and what is the growth projection for 2023-2024. All that and much more in the next half an hour as I continue to capture the mood from the Raisina Hill. That is the North Block and the South Block. As you can see, the Kartavya Path, the entire stretch, the Prime Minister and the President will be moving from there. The Prime Minister, of course, will also be giving a soundbite, a traditional soundbite that he gives when the session begins. So, what is the anticipation of this budget session? A quick word from you, Tushar, first.
See, this is the power play for the Modi government. 8 years in the government and we still come across as that one budget that is the most important budget for the government. Now, coming to the budget, what are the expectations? See, one thing, it would be a lot to do with boosting the demand within the middle class and the rural population. This year has been dented by the Russia-Ukraine war. The central banks have been hiking the interest rates. That has led to a dent in the credit expansion. So for the finance minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, the biggest challenge would be how does she boost demand, which leads to growth in the year ahead to the national elections of 2024. That would be the big objective of this very big and very, very important budget.
Just watch your step, Tushar,
Yes.
because this entire place is still being cleared up after the beating retreat. And be prepared, the opposition is also gearing up for what they are saying, a budget which will be just high on optics. Perhaps expected reaction that has come from opposition already. Most of the parties in opposition have said that this is an anti-Aam Aadmi budget, much before the budget is going to be tabled tomorrow. Anshul, this is an important budget session, as I said, the last budget session before the 2024 general elections. But I think what is important here is also that the chinks in opposition space will also be exposed.
No, it's not going to be less about the opposition than the government itself. I mean, it's going to be about cronyism, it's going to be malfeasance, it's going to be about, offshore trading by secret entities. This is all in the Hindenburg report. So that is going to come up, and we've been saying all along that there's a truck between this government and big business, and that is what is the problem with our economy. The problem with our economy is that they've been just favoring time and again big business at the cost of the poor, and therefore demand is weak.
Yes.
I mean, to
the point that you've made about Hindenburg report, just to a quick reminder for our viewers. In fact, in the all-party meeting that was chaired by the government, several parties in opposition said that they would want a discussion on that report, which is regarding the Adani group. We'll try and get details of the opposition strategy. But first up, a piece of breaking news coming in now. Sources are telling CNN News 18 that BRS, that is Bharat Rashtra Samithi, which is the TRS's new name, and the Aam Aadmi Party are all set to stage a walkout during the joint address of the President of India, that is Draupadi Murmu. The two parties will not be present during the joint address. Remember, the joint address becomes important because the President, as the head of the Republic, gives a sense of what this government, the Modi government, has on its agenda, what it has done in the last 1 year and what it plans to do going ahead. Let me go straight to Arunima. Arunima, so it is becoming increasingly clear that as far as opposition space is concerned, that index of opposition unity that we keep talking about may again be at an all-time low. It's becoming increasingly clear that within the opposition, all the parties may not be speaking in one voice because in the opposition, two parties will be staging a walkout. What about the Congress and others? Anshul, Congress, TMC, there are several parties in opposition. 21 of them were invited by Rahul Gandhi for the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Srinagar. Just 6 of them turned up, and not the top leaders of the political parties. The message is loud and clear that yes, the Bharat Jodo Yatra may be about image makeover of the Congress MP, but as far as other political parties are concerned, they still do not have faith in his leadership.
No. So the Bharat Jodo Yatra cannot be seen through these filters of opposition unity. Its purpose and its objectives were completely different. Opposition unity will come together. It has its own particular set of dynamics, and it will come together. Look, when inflation is over 8%, your current account deficit is 4.4%, and the economy is in dire straits. Your unorganized sector is actually devastated, and we're still talking about opposition unity at the time on the eve of the budget session.
No, but what is it about then? We have seen how opposition, if you're not able to raise issues that you say that you have presented a rather gloomy picture of how things are, then what really is the purpose? The question then will be asked as to if the opposition is not united, Tushar, in raising these concerns that they say is a very gloomy picture of the entire, economy, then what is the way forward?
Look, they keep talking about the economy being in dire straits. They keep talking about the government not handling inflation properly, not handling demand properly. But the truth of the matter is that in 2022, if this index of opposition unity had to work, it should have worked. You had 9 big state elections in 2022, if I count the churns in Maharashtra and Bihar. BJP came out winning 6 of them. Congress came out winning just 1 of them, and that too in a swing state. So when they say that the economy is in a dire strait, one may agree or may not agree, but at the end of the day...
It is being agreed upon. In fact, the IMF report has also come. All of them seem to be agreeing that as far as the bright spot in the world is concerned, India is the only economy which is the bright spot. One moment, Tushar. In fact, Tom Vadakkan of the BJP spokesperson is also joining me. Mr. Vadakkan, what we are being told that Aam Aadmi Party and BRS will be skipping the joint session of Parliament. This certainly would be bad optics, but also it's also showing that the opposition is upping its ante just on the day 1 of the budget session.
Parliament is where discussions are held, opinions, expressions are all there, and that's the temple of democracy. If parties which have an anarchist history decide to boycott Parliament, I think that is a sad day in democracy. Whatever differences you may have, you have an opportunity to speak in Parliament, to have a discussion on Parliament. By skipping Parliament, you are creating a situation where you are questioning the very foundation of democracy.
And interestingly, Mr. Vadakkan, really appreciate your time. I'm just looking at what Geeta Gopinath is saying, and this is for both of you. She says that India remains the fastest growing large economy in 2023-2024. That is the projection of the IMF. So if anything, that's certainly a good news for all Indians.
Our GDP in the last 3 years has barely been 1% per year. A lot of this growth is because of a low base effect. We went into minus 6.6 on the year of the pandemic. And you must remember that our GDP growth rate had declined precipitously since this government has taken over. In fact, after Notbandi, there was a sharp decline in our GDP to the effect that before the pandemic, you were 3.7% of your was growth.
No, but IMF forecasts India's growth at 6.8% in financial year 23. Financial year 24 growth maintained at 6.1%, and 25 will be at 6.8%, and that is the IMF. And although the global scenario is not so bright, India continues to be the bright spot. So I think, Tushar, because these numbers are also about that the purchasing power of India will increase. The poorest of the poor will be rising to the middle class level. So that is good news for each and every one of us. I mean, why should it be seen from the political lens?
Absolutely. Look, the low base effect is for all the countries. But look what happened in China last year. COVID-0 lockdowns. People protesting against Xi Jinping. the manufacturing being hit, supply chains being hit. Look at what's happening in Europe with the whole energy crisis going on, with inflation going on. So relatively, across the world, India is in a great bright spot, and it's one of the biggest markets of the world.
Okay.
So what does it do? It incentivizes company to come and build here.
Okay.
Manufacturing
Make
will
in
get
India,
a boost.
Atmanirbhar Bharat has been those principles. Tom Vadakan, before I let you go, a quick word. We are seeing that battle lines being drawn between the Treasury benches and opposition on day one itself. In fact, around 12:30 is when the BRS and Aam Aadmi Party will be holding a press conference right here where I am. And the sense is very clear that this would be very much about no cooperation and non-cooperation. But the opposition has given enough indication on what is their agenda as far as this session is concerned. Is the government, is the BJP ready to discuss each and every issue, or will you have reservations, particularly to do with the Hindenburg report?
We have stated this obvious issue. We will discuss everything threadbare. We are ready for a discussion. There's no two views on that. The government has made it very clear and categorical that all issues will be discussed. But there is certain protocol in Parliament which has to be maintained, because ultimately Parliament runs on the exchequer's expenses. So you don't have time for all this circuses and optics that they would present. If they're absent, it is at their cost. The voter finally has woken up and would realize that if the opposition parties don't participate and do not do what they're supposed to be doing, the voter will decide, and that's going to be an open issue. So if you don't do your duty, you have to pay a price for it.
Yes, Tom Vadakan, I appreciate your time. In terms of optics, it's an important session, and day one becomes very, very important, because right here on the Kartavya Path, moving from the Raisina Hill, the first woman tribal president will be entering the Parliament of India for the joint address. This will be the first joint address by her, and it is of a great significance as well. Nishank Mane of BRS is Krishank Mane of BRS is also joining me on the phone line. Krishank, why boycott the joint session? Krishank, if you can hear me. Okay, we'll try and connect with Mr. Mane of the BRS. The message certainly is that why are the two political parties boycotting this, the first day of the session, which is the joint address. I'll try and connect with Arunima as well, who is tracking the parliament session very closely along with us. So Arunima will be joining me in just a few minutes. But the message that is coming from the government is that they are ready to discuss each and every issue, although allocation of time has not been given on most of the issues that the opposition would want to take up. Perhaps there will be the Business Advisory Committee which will be meeting to give us a sense of what are the issues which will be taken up in the first week beginning today. A gloomy Tuesday morning where I am with Tushar and Anshul here. Arunima is also going to be joining me. But the big takeaway this morning is that BRS and Aam Aadmi Party have indicated that they will not be sitting with most of the other opposition parties. And will we be seeing any kind of opposition unity? What about inside Parliament? What about outside Parliament? We'll try and get more details. Will there be some protests that we see as traditional protests that are staged by opposition parties on day one, day two? Or will day one be just about business, which is about the joint session and then the economic survey with the good news that is coming in from the IMF. Arunima, if you can hear me, my question to you is, and I can see you looking bright and red, Arunima, on a Tuesday morning. The index of opposition unity continues to be at an all-time low. When was the last time, Arunima, we heard that parties will be boycotting the joint session of Parliament, particularly, the joint address, the address to the joint House of Parliament by the President, the presidential address?
It's a trap that the opposition perhaps is walking into, because you've seen even, senior leaders in Lok Sabha like Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary and other leaders from the opposition spectrum have faced brunt from the BJP, from the NDA. They have been accused of not being referential or not being respectful disrespectful towards a tribal woman president. They've been accused of being anti-tribal. Every time an opposition member has come out and spoken against President Draupadi Murmu, BJP has been quick to label them anti-tribal. So this attack by the opposition, led by the Aam Aadmi Party, led by the BRS, are they opening themselves to that attack as well? Essentially the point that Aam Aadmi Party is making, and we have been putting out tweets that have been made by the likes of Sanjay saying, "Jhoot ka pulinda" is what they're calling the government's policy. Why that attack? Because essentially the president's address is a sum total of all that the government has to tell the constituency, the electorate, the people of this country, their policies, their achievements, what is it that they have brought to the table in the last 1 year or so. What the Aam Aadmi Party and the BRS are saying is that all of these things that the government is going to narrate and which the president will read out in her address are a bunch of lies, and therefore they are boycotting it. But the government's point of view, the BJP's point of view could be that this is the constitutional authority. She is the supreme constitutional authority of the country. By boycotting her address, you are being disrespectful to her. Because she is a tribal and a woman, you are being disrespectful to both these constituencies as well.
Yes, and Arunima, this will be the first address, the presidential address to the Joint House of Parliament by President Draupadi Murmu. I mean, the government in its messaging will be very clear that this is a tribal woman president, and much before listening to her or hearing her, these two political parties have decided, as a joint strategy that they will be staging a walkout. So they'll have much questions to answer, and realizing fully well, I think the Congress and the TMC and others will be waiting and seeing as to what will be the nature of this address.
Yes, and it will be difficult for the Congress or the TMC or for the other opposition parties to join ranks with the likes of Aam Aadmi Party and BRS. I think what you should also see is in the larger context of this struggle within the opposition rank to take leadership against Bharatiya Janata Party. If they're trying to make this solid opposition bloc, who is leading that bloc? Congress Party keeps saying that without us, there could be no anti-BJP bloc of the opposition. Trinamool Congress has its own ambitions. There are parties like Aam Aadmi Party. Arvind Kejriwal wants to see himself, especially after his performance in Punjab and his attempt to become a national party after the Gujarat elections. After that, he wants to see himself in that larger national role as well. So this decision, and Telangana, of course, elections round the corner, everything has to be seen through that prism. So this boycott, is this also part of that struggle within the opposition? Not so much to do with the government, but within the opposition to put yourself in that position of prominence. Like I said, it will be very difficult for other parties, given the fact, like you pointed out, that this is the first address of the president after taking over to the joint session. Also because of her tribal and women credentials, it will be very difficult for these other national parties like Congress to come out and boycott her speech.
Yes, and will that entire debate of fulcrum of opposition unity be settled in this budget session? You know, what is evident, Tushar, here is also that we are seeing this tussle play out. And that is the reason why there is competition also to boycott in the opposition space. You have the Aam Aadmi Party and the BRS jointly announcing that they will be boycotting the first presidential address, the first address by Draupadi Murmu to the Joint House of Parliament. And the other parties may not be doing so because they realize the symbolism which is associated with her chair.
You know, I like the audacity of the Aam Aadmi Party with 0 Lok Sabha MPs and 10 Rajya Sabha MPs to stage a walkout at a juncture like this. This is the time when they should be seen in the parliament. They should be asking the tough questions, but they're walking out. But talking about the opposition unity, Maria, Bharat Jodo Yatra was an opportunity to get the allies together, at least for the optics. The seat sharing, the other dynamics could have been figured out later. But Bharat Jodo Yatra was a very, very important opportunity for Rahul Gandhi to get together the likes of the Samajwadi, the BSP, TMC.
None of them came yesterday.
None of them came.
So
where is the index of opposition unity? Look, all said and done, Congress is not in a position to get 272 seats in 2024. Even 15 months ahead, we can say that. So where are they going to get the allies? Who is going to be the projected prime ministerial candidate from the opposition? People are going to ask these questions, Maria. The budget comes out, the session begins, but people are now going to ask 15 months ahead of the elections, who is the opposition's face to counter Modi in 2024? And right now we have no answer.
Yes, there is no answer. But, you know, the Congress also is trying to send a message that they are not ready to accept the electoral realities. Here is the Aam Aadmi Party, which has defeated you in Punjab recently, has taken away Delhi and has established its presence. They were not invited for the opposition meet at the Bharat Jodo Yatra. You have Mr. KCR, who has sent a message again that he is looking for an alternate solution because you really do not have it in you as far as the party is concerned to take on the BJP. There are 200 seats across India where it's going to be a direct contest. Is the Congress really ready, or will the Congress accept that, in the regional spaces, in the states, the scenario has changed? There are realities which have shifted. The Congress is no longer relevant in number of states.
No, please don't announce the collapse or something.
I'm not announcing collapse.
Of opposition unity as such by a few things that have taken place. Look what happened in
There
UPA
has
1.
not been even a single meeting of opposition
What
parties
happened
today.
in UPA 1,
Maybe it will
Maria?
happen later.
Maybe history will repeat itself. You remember what happened in UPA 1? When they were, the government then was all guns blazing, there was India shining, and the reverses that happened. You don't know what happens in politics. Look, the opposition is not a monolith. Right? There is something called opposition unity, but it is constructed. It is a dynamic, organic thing. It is constructed with time. The Bharat Jodo Yatra was not that kind of...
But the Congress wants to play the role of the big brother.
No, it
the others
doesn't.
are not ready to accept your role as the big brother.
No, it is not. We have time and again said that it is a part of that, what is called like-minded parties, which are against the ideology of the BJP, time and again. And we want to create that unity among them. That will come with time, that will come with negotiation, that will come with the dynamism that exists. Bharat Jodo cannot be the reflection of that. It was not meant to be. Its purposes and its objectives was completely different. Right? So we have something like opposition unity. But here the opposition will play a critical role in cornering the government on, first of all, the economy, the malfeasance, the corruption that has gone on, and the negotiation between this government and big business at the cost of the poor of this country. That is the central thing. Look at unemployment figures. You talk about this rosy picture of IMF.
But IMF, yes, we have to go to the we have to go with the IMF.
Where
budget.
does IMF get and other rating agencies get their data? They don't have secret sort of missions and surveys here. They get their data from the Indian government, from the formal economy.
So how do you respond to this?
Look, one needs to understand 2020, 2021 and 2022 were the toughest years for the Indian economy and since probably independence. And yet people have retain their faith in the BJP. Now the opposition can go all hammer and tongs about inflation, about unemployment, about the economy being in dire straits. But Maria, the point is that in 2022, when it was the big year for the opposition, 6 of the 9 elections, I'm counting Bihar and Maharashtra, 6 of the 9 states went to the BJP. Just 1 came to the Congress. So if Congress or the opposition is getting the unemployment or the economy figures or, rhetoric right, where are the votes?
Yes.
My simple question is, where are the votes?
No, because let's be clear, if it is about validation or endorsement of a policy, it is an electoral victory. We cover politics, Tushar, and you are a political analyst. Anshul, you'll also agree that, all these political experiments that are being done by political parties, if they do not translate into votes, do not translate into numbers, it means nothing technically. At the end of the day, all political parties are there to win elections. Okay, before I go back to Tushar and Anshul, there's a piece of breaking news that is coming in now. Okay, there has been a tweet that has been put out by Jairam Ramesh where he is saying that Congress MPs will not be able to attend this session. In fact, day 1 of the budget session, the joint address, which will be seeing the joint address by Draupadi Murmu, because they are stuck in Srinagar. The weather is bad and the flight is not able to take off. Remember, most of these MPs are in Srinagar and they attended the Bharat Jodo Yatra culmination by Rahul Gandhi. Arunima, so the bad weather means the Congress MPs will be missing from the joint address. Is there no flight taking off at all from Srinagar?
Yes, the weather is very inclement. It snowed in Srinagar yesterday. 4 to 5 inches was the average in most part, and the entire capital city, is covered in snow. And you can see even here, we are far down south from Srinagar, but even here in Delhi, it is overcast sky. Visibility is very poor, so you can imagine how bad the visibility is up there in the north, and that's the reason that flights have been affected. That is the reason that Jairam Ramesh is giving that most of the MPs, including Congress President and their senior leader in the upper house, Mallikarjun Kharge, all of them would not be able to reach in time for the 11 a.m. address of the President of India. But like we have been saying, that this is bound to be criticized as well, that your Bharat Jodo Yatra was planned in a way that you left hardly any time for you to come back and attend this important session. Could that be a point of criticism from the Treasury side as well? But all in all, it looks like now there are at least 3 parties who would give a miss. 2 are boycotting. Third party, the Congress, the National Party, the one that sees itself as the principal challenger to the BJP, their MPs too would not be able to attend the joint session. They say it's because of the weather.
All right, Arunima, thank you so much. We'll be coming to you in just a few minutes again. This remains our top focus here on CNN News 18 as I say goodbye to Tushar and Anshul. So, what will we be seeing today? Today is day 1 of the budget session. This is the last full budget before the general elections of 2024. There'll be a joint address to the Parliament of both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha by the President of India. The first address by President Draupadi Murmu, the first address by the first woman tribal President of India. It will be followed by the economic survey, which will give us a sense of how the government is looking at its growth in 2023-2024. This and much more as we continue to track this story very, very closely. News and updates on the other side.